You all requested it, so I am here today to talk to you about natural family planning as a method of birth control. Hi everyone, it's Natalie. Welcome back to my channel for another video. Today I'm going to be talking with you about natural family planning. I did a video a few weeks ago. It was my 1-month baby and postpartum update, and in that video I talked about how we would be going back to the natural family planning birth control method. And I got so many requests. The comment section of that video is just flooded with requests for a video just talking about my experience with natural family planning and my experience with hormonal birth control and that sort of a thing. So that's what I'm sitting down to talk with you about today. If it's not really a subject that you would like to hear someone talk about, or if you think that it's not appropriate for your age to be hearing about this sort of thing because I'm going to be talking about sex and birth control and all of that, then I encourage you to click away from this video. Now would be a good time. I have plenty of other videos you can check out on this channel. It is a very personal subject, but I feel comfortable talking to you about it because there are so many requests for it, and I feel comfortable because I am going to keep a lot of the details of it private. My husband and I have been using natural family planning for most of our marriage, and it has worked for us 100%. It helped us prevent pregnancy, and it helped us get pregnant. Today I'm going to be talking about the prevention of pregnancy, but if any of you are interested in just how we use natural family planning to get pregnant, then let me know in the comments of this video if that's something you'd be interested in. But this isn't a TTC sort of subject video. And I should also just give a little disclaimer that I'm talking about my own experience, and I am not qualified at all to give medical advice. So if you are interested in natural family planning or birth control of any sort, that's something that you need to talk to your doctor about and your spouse about. And of course, if you have health concerns regarding that, absolutely talk to your healthcare provider. And also, I will say that when I talk about the negatives of my experience, that doesn't mean that I judge anyone who is making a different decision for their birth control than I am. I'm choosing what works for me and what my convictions about it are. So with that out of the way, let's first of all talk about my experience with hormonal birth control. So I was on the pill for about a year. I started taking it 3 months before my husband and I got married. And a little backstory on us, we actually saved sex for marriage, so we were virgins on our wedding night, and we still to this day say that it was like the best decision we've ever made for our relationship. I highly recommend it. We are people of faith, and so we come from a Christian perspective on that, but whether or not you have the same faith background as us, it's definitely something that I recommend because it's such a precious, special gift to give to each other once you are married. But we knew we wanted to have kids, but we wanted to wait 1 or 2 years before starting to expand our family, so we needed a form of birth control to prevent pregnancy. And we thought, just the surefire way to prevent pregnancy was to put me on the pill. And I'm someone who knows that a lot of natural methods agree with my body better, and so it was kind of against my better judgment that I went on the pill in the first place. But I just wanted something to simplify the whole process. I had heard about natural family planning, but there's a lot of steps to it, and it can be confusing, and you gotta know your body really, really well, and I just didn't want to have to bother with that. And so I wanted an easy way to prevent pregnancy, something that would simplify the whole process. It did not simplify things for us. In fact, it really made life very difficult for the first 9 months of our marriage. And it was very, very frustrating. The biggest side effect of all was that it made sex very, very painful for me. There were other side effects, including chronic UTIs, acne, weight gain, headaches. My head was in a fog all the time. It affected my mood. I couldn't think clearly, and I started to slip into a little bit of depression just from the synthetic hormones being in my body, altering my system so severely. And I worked closely with my primary care provider. We adjusted dosage, switched prescriptions. We tried a lot of different things. I realized that the time I felt the best, the time my body felt the best, was when I was on my period. And that's usually the worst time of the month for a lot of gals, but because I didn't have those synthetic hormones in my body anymore, because the period week of pills is just sugar pills, that was a huge indication to me that the birth control pill just was messing me up. And then I got so frustrated and so sad about the fact that sex was so painful for me that after doing some research, I realized that the hormonal birth control was probably the culprit for the pain. And without going into too much detail about it, I decided with my last little pill pack, I was gonna finish it out, have my period, and then not refill my prescription, not go back on the hormonal birth control. And in that time, Weston and I did a lot of research about natural family planning and decided that that would probably be the best for us. I needed my body to detox from all of these synthetic hormones that I had been putting into it for a year. And so literally the day I stopped taking hormonal birth control, all of my symptoms improved. Every single one. I could go down that list and things got so much better. I felt so free being off of it. I felt very healthy. And that's when we started to do the natural family planning method of birth control. Natural family planning, there's just a bunch of different methods that fall under that umbrella. And actually in my 1 month postpartum video, I misspoke it when I was talking about natural family planning, and it just kind of rolled off my tongue and I said we use the rhythm method. And I want to take just a second here to give some clarification that the rhythm method is something that we do use, but we use it in conjunction with other natural family planning methods. The rhythm method is just looking at the calendar. You're just counting days, and typically women on average have an ovulation time a certain number of days after they start their period. But the rhythm method does not include listening to the cues of your own body, checking anything with your own body or symptoms that you're feeling. It's only counting days. Well, we don't just count days. So we use the rhythm method. That's just the first thing that happens in my brain when I think, how much do we need to prevent on this day of the month? And so I think of where I'm at in the month, but then I also listen to physical cues. A lot of gals who use the natural family planning method will take their temperature every morning, and a certain fluctuation in temperature indicates that you are going to ovulate. And I've not needed to do that because I can see the cues in my own body when I'm going to ovulate. That's anything from checking the position of my cervix to checking my cervical mucus to just how I feel hormonally. I get really nauseous around ovulation time. And then if I feel like there's enough indication that I'm going to be ovulating, I will take an ovulation test. And I get a big pack of them from Amazon. They're super cheap. They're not nearly as expensive as they are when you go just down to the drugstore and buy an ovulation kit. Those are like 2 for $30, ridiculously expensive. I get like a 50 pack on Amazon for $10. And for several days leading up to the day I know I'm gonna ovulate, I will take the test and I will look at the lines to see where I'm at, and I know when I'm in my fertile window or not. I also use an app on my phone called Woman Log. I have used it since I was a teenager, actually, just to sort of remind me when I was gonna get my period. I love this app. You can put so many different little like symptoms and dates and all sorts of stuff. You can tell this app when you've had sex and all sorts of stuff. I'm not sponsored, by the way. I know a lot of other YouTubers use the Clue app, but I like Woman Log. Getting to know when your fertile window is like the #1 key to using the natural family planning method. This channel really isn't a medical channel, so you can do your own research about how to, find the indications of your own body of when you're fertile. For me, it's just how I feel. It's checking cervical mucus, and it's taking those ovulation tests to give me the final, yes, you are ovulating sort of indication. So when I'm not fertile, and I want to do husband and wifey things with my husband, I will use just spermicide to prevent pregnancy. For me and for most women, the fertile window is actually when you feel like having sex the most. It's when you feel the most amorous and in love, hormonal, and it's when your spouse is the most attracted to you, and that's just how it's designed to be so that we can procreate. but a lot of people using the natural family planning method just choose abstinence during that time, but that's not how I want it to be. So we use a backup barrier method during that time, and getting to know my cycle and knowing when my fertile window is such a good tool for knowing how much or like what level of prevention we need to implement on that particular day. I got a little one waking up. It's okay, Haley. So I know the question that I will get in the comments here, it's the obvious elephant in the room. I'm only 8 weeks postpartum right now, and I have not gotten my period back yet. So I don't have a cycle. I don't have a calendar and symptoms of ovulation to rely upon to know when to abstain or prevent further, or that sort of a thing. And the way we are treating this postpartum time before I start having a cycle again is as if I'm in my fertile window. So we are using our highest level of prevention right now, just because getting your period postpartum is the last indication that you are fertile. When you have a period, it means that you ovulated a couple weeks before that, which for a lot of ladies, their period shows up postpartum and it's a surprise. I mean, how are we supposed to know when that happens? The last time I was postpartum, when I had my twin boys, I didn't get my period until I was 9 months postpartum, and 2 weeks before I got my period, I had ovulation pain, which not a lot of women get. I get it. A couple of my sisters do too, where we feel a pain on either side in our lower abdomen when the egg is released. And it was so funny because I was 8.5 months postpartum and I felt this twinge of pain, and I went, oh, that is all too familiar. I bet I'm ovulating. And then I was clued into the other signs of my body, like cervical mucus and the way I was feeling. And I thought, you know what? I think I'm gonna get my period really soon. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, I did get my period. And I was almost happy to get it because it meant that I could go back to keeping really close track of my cycles and to knowing when my fertile window was. So as it is right now, I probably have several months until it's time for me to start tracking my cycle. So we're just treating it as if I'm in my fertile window and, just being really careful. We don't know if Haley is our last baby. She might be, but we're certainly not going to take any sort of permanent steps for birth control, because in a couple of years we might consider having another baby. So that's obviously something that we're praying about, and we could change our mind 50 times before it happens. I am a wholehearted believer in this method. I don't know what our version of the method is called. I know there's like the Bradley method and some other guy's name or whatever, and there's whole like Facebook support groups for natural family planning and the different methods and that sort of a thing. I just think this is the Bennett method. This is just what we've done, and it works really, really well for us. Everyone's experience is different in natural family planning. Everyone adheres to a different sort of method and they find what works for them, and sometimes they have an oopsie, and of course, just like any other birth control method, it is definitely not as 100% effective as total abstinence is, but I'm a married woman. There's no way I'm gonna be abstinent when I got that cute husband walking around, so. Natalie is starting to go too far, so I'm gonna cut myself off here. And thank you guys for watching today's video. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy mommy and lifestyle videos. I make them here on my channel every week. And comment below. I'm sure some of you still have questions, and if I'm comfortable answering them, I will in the comment section. You guys can comment back and forth to each other. I love seeing my viewers just interact with each other in the comments, and I would just ask that you keep it nice, be kind to each other. And yeah, I think that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.